Hey guys, welcome to the broadcast today on transforming autoimmune disease naturally. And I'm just going to give you guys about 30 seconds or so to be able to trickle in. So I'm going to let some people trickle in. And in the meantime, those of you that are already watching, if you can go ahead and just let me know where you're watching from, just list it in the comments section. That's great. It's always awesome to know what the demographics are of you guys that are watching in the audience. The other piece of this is if you know anybody that has tried everything in autoimmune disease, including you, go ahead and share their name in the comment section, or you could share it to your own personal page or to a group that you're in right now. That would be great. Number three is that if you can give, this is a big deal for Jenna to be here with us today, and I'm going to go into the topic in a second. Give her a like and a heart. That would be awesome. That would be really supportive for her. Those of you that are in the alumni that are watching, if you could report it in the comment section, alumni here, that would be great, just to help with some of the questions and answers that are going to be questions that people are going to be popping in the comments. If you have any questions for Jenna or myself, go ahead and post it in the comment section as well. That would be great. And I just want to go ahead and do a quick disclaimer, which is even though I am a doctor, I am not your doctor in this broadcast at all. I'm not here to treat or diagnose any conditions in this interview. This is really purely for educational purposes. And so watch at your own risk or benefit, okay? And with that said, what I'm also going to invite you guys to do is join our Facebook group. We'll post that link underneath. And if you haven't watched our online training, our free online training about what our whole program and system is about, go ahead and we're going to post a link right underneath. So you can go ahead and register to watch our free training to learn all about us. So I'm Dr. Maggie Yu, and I'm an integrative physician that has focused my career the last 12 years actually on autoimmune disease. I was a family practitioner the first 10 years of my career when I came down with autoimmune disease, and I had to figure all this out about 12 years ago. And since then, I've been focusing my as an integrative physician in autoimmune disease, and we now have an online program, an 8-week online program called Transforming Autoimmune Disease Naturally. So go ahead, report in and let me know where you're watching from. Thank you. Today, we're going to be talking about, you think you've tried everything in autoimmune disease, because I hear this all the time. We have phone calls with people who are interested in our program, and that's the number one comment I hear. I have tried everything. So what I'm inviting Jenna here today, and I'm going to let her introduce herself in a second, is to discuss, a lot of people think they've tried everything in autoimmune disease because they've seen so many specialists, or even naturopaths, functional doctor, chiropractors. And yet they think, but then yet my challenge is, have you really tried everything? What does that really mean? And why haven't you gotten outcome? So I'm going to let Jenna here introduce herself. Please give her a heart and a thumbs up right now. And Jenna, take it away. Let's tell everybody who you are.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jenna. I have 2 kids. I have a family. I have an intense job. I work as a director in a global nonprofit organization. And for about the past 10 plus years, I've been dealing with autoimmune disease. Lots of diagnoses. I've had been diagnosed with celiac disease, Hashimoto's, ulcerative colitis. I have Lyme disease, so chronic Lyme. SIBO. I mean, I feel like if you name it, I've probably had a diagnosis as that at some point.
Well, Jenna, thanks for the introduction. Now, my next question is, can you tell me a day in the life? Like, what was your life like prior to joining our program? What was it like living with all those diagnoses?
I was extremely fatigued all the time. Just exhausted, barely making it through my days. I had GI issues many times every day. I had so much joint pain. I was just totally overwhelmed with life. And like I said, I have to be a high producer and have a lot going on all the time. And it just wasn't working for me anymore at all. I was just not enjoying my kids. I wasn't enjoying my career, which I love. And I just felt really overwhelmed and not sure what to do next.
I know, and that was when we talked, and that was I remember on our call when you were interested in this program, and your husband, you're married to a physician as well. So one of the questions that I remember with the first call, the first comment you probably said to me is, "I've tried everything," and many people say that. So I want the list of all the stuff that you've tried. You tried a lot, so I want to hear what that list is. And those of you that are watching, if this sounds like you, as she's going through that list, please say me too. All right, go for it, Jenna.
Well, first of all, just tons of testing, like trying to diagnose what was going to be the Achilles heel. So lots of testing, different types of doctors. I worked with an amazing naturopath, believe it or not. I had done special diets. I had taken and tried lots of supplements. I'd done an online 8-week, pretty in-depth Hashimoto's program. I had worked with a functional nutritionist, both in a group and one-on-one. I mean, I could probably go on for an hour with things that I had tried, but there was a ton.
And you have access to a lot of these. Like, you tried a ton of these things. You were also married to a medical professional, and you were really big on educating yourself on all these things. And you were seeing an awesome naturopathic physician as well, correct?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. So now that you say that you've tried everything, and you're a couple weeks since you graduated, so you went through our 8-week program, I'm going to reframe that past that you said, which is going back now, when you have hindsight now that you've been through our program. Do you think you actually have tried everything?
No. Well, now I have. No.
Why haven't you tried everything? What didn't you try? What was so different?
I think what was so different is having a really systematic plan, like literally, week 1, you do this, week 2, you do this, week 3, you do this. I mean, that was a really big part of it. Just a very clear, simple, succinct plan. And inside of that, so much education. I mean, a big part that was missing for me, and I pride myself on being a learner, and I read and study a lot of things, and I'm married to a scientist, but I think still the amount of time dedicated to just understanding autoimmune disease from an expert team was incredibly life-changing for me.
So what I'm hearing is honestly that even though you had a lot of access and tried a lot of things, you didn't have personal mastery.
No, I didn't. And frankly, a lot of the things that even were the right things to do, and that I'm still doing to this day, sometimes I wasn't compliant with those things because I didn't really understand how critical they were. They just felt like another thing. And since so many of those things didn't work for me, it was hard for me, even as a disciplined person, to know where should I be spending my time and energy, and which things should I really be focusing on, and which aren't really that important.
So here's the interesting thing that you're saying is that for me, it's a point I always make, is information does not equal integration or transformation.
No, so true.
So after because think about that. You're not the only one. I mean, how many years did you try everything for before you landed with our program? How many years?
Probably 10.
Okay, so a decade. And those of you, if it's been a decade or more, you have symptoms, please write me too in the comment section below. So for 10 years, you've tried all these things. And if you think about it, they were all pieces of information, pieces of tools, but none of it was a thorough personal mastery or an understanding of how all these pieces fit together, right?
Yeah. And what that led to was a lack of confidence and empowerment. Honestly, I really didn't feel in control of myself or the plan or the outcome. And after the program, that was what changed for me most dramatically.
So Jenna, I remember in some of the mastermind calls, the live coaching sessions that we had on a regular basis, one of the topics that we had talked about was something as simple as B12. And I think you were, dumbfounded and a little baffled that there were pieces of information that you had known all along about B12, but you never understood how it fit into so many different pieces of the puzzle in autoimmune disease.
Totally. I mean, with all the nutrient stuff, with D too, D, B12, iron, all the things.
Right?
Yeah.
And so for me, what happened there in that situation is, okay, so there was a lack of personal mastery. And you've been through other online programs on Hashimoto's. And even then, I mean, what's the difference between us and another online program? Are we just another online program? What's the big difference? You've been through another online program.
First of all, I think it's the quality and quantity of education. It's the requirement that you, as someone going through the program, the commitment level you need to make. Like it really forces you to learn it and to master it. And I also think it's the simplicity, it's the other people around you, that support system. I mean, there's so many pieces of it. I can't isolate one thing in the program that's the magic, because it is the program, truly.
I mean, I tell people there are really 4 keys to our program. A lot of people don't understand what our program is. Number 1 is that data is really important. So you have to have your own data. It's not about me looking at you and saying, I feel you're woo-woo. Everybody's going to follow Dr. Maggie Yu's plan protocol for every autoimmune disease on the planet, and you're all following the same plan. No, number 1, you need data, and you need to personalize data. And that's really important. I'm a scientist, and I'm a medical doctor, and I'm a scientist. You have to have the data. Your husband said that. He even said that. We need the data. Number 2 is that it's education. There's a huge educational component with online videos that you were watching every single week that build on each other week by week that you never had a chance to do before. Number 3 is live coaching. I mean, talk about the live online coaching up the wazoo that we had in a small community of people that were here to kick ass, take names, and chew bubblegum, right?
Yeah.
And those of you who are in the group who are graduates who are kicking ass, taking names, and chewing bubblegum, please say hi and tell me what your experience has been. And then number 4, mindset work, and a mindset with our mindset coach as well. So if you look at all these 4 pieces, which is data, educational, live coaching, and mindset work, who the heck is doing this with autoimmune disease on the planet?
No one except you guys.
That's why we get crazy outcomes like this. Okay.
Yeah.
So I want to go over right now, just outcome-wise, where are you with outcomes now? You've graduated from our program a couple weeks ago. Inquiring minds want to know, what were you able to achieve in 8 weeks that you couldn't in 10 years?
So much. I mean, it's a laundry list. I have sustained energy. I'm like back to energy from way decades ago. I'm just getting up, excited about the day, feeling clear-headed, not having brain fog, no GI symptoms, like, and even more than no GI symptoms, like healthy gut, healthy stools, as opposed to diarrhea, which was a daily part of my life. Too much information everywhere, but truly.
I mean, talk about planning your life around bathrooms.
Totally. I mean, I would seriously plan what I was going to eat around where I was located. Yes. And that didn't even matter sometimes because I didn't even really know what was driving it. I mean, I feel more creative which is key in my job of marketing and storytelling, because I don't have the brain fog. I'm just clear, no joint pain, which is incredibly amazing. And, sometimes you still have ups and downs, like we're talking about autoimmune disease. But the coolest thing for me is that even post-graduating, if I do have something that feels like a down, I know what's triggering it, and I know the cause and effect, and I know how to get back on track, or I know what tools to use. The other thing was really around food and like what I was eating. Right before I started, I was getting so desperate that I was ready to try the autoimmune protocol diet,
sure,
which, if anyone knows, is extremely limiting and not very sustainable in real life, which I like. I love food and I love real life, and I love to socialize, and it's just not sustainable in that environment. And the craziest thing about the program is it actually allowed me to have food freedom, because what I found out was some of the things that were affecting me negatively, there weren't that many things. And I was able to take those out, not these big broad stroke buckets, and totally enjoy what I was eating. And, and that was really transformational.
Bingo, 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 right? It's not that the AIP or Paleo or Keto is bad. They can work for some people, but they're a very broad brushstroke, not based on your data. And you can end up
Yeah.
ignoring and avoiding huge groups of food that you love, you enjoy, that gives you food freedom, creativity, and joy, right? And now, based on, I mean, if you were to go on one of those diets, you would have had eliminated 50, 60, 70 foods from that you would, that's the list at least. And then now, if you look at the number of foods you actually have to avoid, I mean, how
It's a
much
handful.
is that? A
Yeah.
handful.
Hmm.
And the best yet, you're avoiding just a handful, and yet you've experienced outcomes you've never experienced in 10 years.
Hmm. Yeah. And I feel really like confident about that. I don't want to go anywhere near those things. It's not like, because I just, the GI transformation has been so extreme, that like some people will say, well, don't you just feel like eating this or that? No, I don't, because I feel amazing. And I know what those specific things are.
You're like,
Yeah.
hell no. Like, how much of the capital H do you want on that hell no?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, come on, if it's a handful and you know exactly it's a cause and effect of certain things that you absolutely never want again, then it's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
And if that's how you get compliance, because you have instant cause and effect and results that you know for sure now, certainty.
Totally.
Okay. So here's another part of this question, which is that a lot of people think because I'm seeing a naturopath, I'm seeing a functional medicine doctor, and they could be great. They think that that's the Holy Grail and that they should get all these outcomes. And I want to address that really head on. And I think there's a problem with the clinical setting and how we deliver care. That even if you go see the best guru, even if they are the expert, it is not conducive to personal mastery. And I want to talk about this because you brought this up. So you are seeing and continue seeing a great doctor. Why weren't you getting outcomes? And how did this program impact upon your relationship and your outcomes with your doctor right now? So let's talk about that.
Yeah. I mean, I think there were a couple of reasons I wasn't getting outcomes. And a lot of it had to do with me. I didn't fully understand some of the recommendations and what was behind those recommendations. And so, I would meet with my doctor. She would spend an hour with me. And she still, to this day, she is a part of my support network and I still see her. But even that's not enough time to do the level of education and mastery that you need to do. And so what was happening for me was I'd get the recommendations and then I'd sometimes do them and sometimes not do them. And then I'd see her the next month and nothing had really changed. And we'd tweak more things or look for more things. And it's just, she actually was really excited when I started going through the program because it made me a better patient for her. And it made the things that we did together more effective. And I was just more educated. I could have a richer dialogue with her. It really changed the way we worked together.
So what I'm hearing is this, and I tell people that no matter how good the doctor is, whether it's a conventional doctor or a functional doctor, when you go back and forth in visits like this, the doctor's here, you're here, no matter how many times, and even, I mean, you were lucky you have a doctor that spent an hour with you, but you were seeing her once a month. So in that year, you had 12 hours of contact time with her, right? Mm-hmm. And I mean, how in the heck in a clinical setting, you were lucky you had 12 hours a year with your doctor, right? Most people, 15-minute, 20-minute visits. In a year's time, you may have 2 hours with your doctor total, right? So for me, it's not possible in the clinical setting in 2 hours or even 12 hours a year for you to gain personal mastery. Because, I mean, think about how many hours we spent on looking on the modules to educate yourself, and then on the live coaching calls, which were 5 hours every single week for 8 weeks. Yeah. And for the level of community support throughout the 8 weeks of the program and support from us, I mean, you're talking probably a couple hundred hours total that you had spent in a program, in a system to train you for personal mastery, specifically designed to train you in personal mastery, which is not what our clinical setting is made to do.
No, it's not. And it's also not, even though, she was practicing an integrative, I didn't have a functional nutritionist who was her partner working alongside. So, that's a huge part of it too.
So for those of you who, Frankie is our functional nutritionist, and she's moderating this Facebook Live right now. For those of you who've worked with Frankie, please go ahead and comment on what your experience was working with a functional nutritionist like this for the time that you were in the program and what the impact was. So it was interesting because one of the comments that you had made in the program was that you love your doctor and she's great, but she didn't have time to actually really focus on nutrition. You're specifically tailoring to your nutritional needs, right? So
Yeah.
what was that conversation like? Because you had said when you told your doctor that the functional nutritionist and how we were working with diet and everything, what was her response to that?
I mean, she was really excited. Like, she recognizes that in her even practice, that's a whole. And she had made recommendations around blood sugar and, blood sugar regulation and things, but they were, it was go and look at this resource and then, do it essentially yourself and come back and talk to me. Like, it's just not a part of a traditional practice, even naturopath traditional practice, functional practice. Yeah. I mean, so that was huge. And she really was so encouraging about the model. I think that, she knows the limitations of the model she's working in, and it's frustrating, I think. So, it's brought value to, I know it's brought value to the way we're working together for sure.
So you had mentioned also too that now that you have personal mastery, you've become a leader in dealing with autoimmune disease in your family as well. This isn't just personal mastery for you. We've talked about your daughter and how it's impacted that. Can you talk a little bit about when you have personal mastery, how it impacts upon your family?
Yeah. So something that's probably pretty common, although many may not know it, is, if my daughter also has autoimmune disease. So she is only 10 and already has autoimmune disease, and also has a really excellent naturopath that we've worked with for years. And she was doing great over the past year or so. In the summer, late summer, had a flare up, and we went back into her doctor, and I just was able to go in a way and just ask the right questions and partner in a treatment plan that I knew was going to work because of what had worked for me. And, it wasn't me dictating what we were doing. It's a true dialogue, just asking the right questions and her being completely on board with those things. It really allowed us to focus in on a simple, clear plan for her. So to me, like, it's just the benefit is so broad, because I'm in conversations with people every day that I know have autoimmune disease and they don't know they do. Or, in my family, my mother and my sister also have autoimmune disease. So it's just, in addition to being able to help yourself, you're able to help so many people close to you. And that is a huge deal for me as a mom.
Well, here's the thing: is a lot of people don't understand the huge hereditary component in autoimmune disease. So here's the deal: if one parent has an autoimmune disease, the likelihood that a girl is this is in my own clinical experience, what I've seen is that when you have one parent with autoimmune disease, the likelihood a girl child is going to have autoimmune disease in her lifetime is close to like 80% to 90%. And then the likelihood a boy is going to have autoimmune disease is more like 50, 60 in my clinical experience. And that's an alarmingly high rate. But at the same time, for me, it's uplifting, because if you become personal mastery of autoimmune disease and you become a leader in dealing with this, I call autoimmune disease Godzilla. So you want to stop feeding Godzilla in you. But literally, if you are the leader in your family to deal with this, you're killing Godzilla while he's an egg in your children.
Totally.
Right?
Totally. Yeah.
Awesome. So two final questions. Number one is that, a lot of people will say, if you look at all the list of things that people have tried, they spent a lot of time, 10 years and a lot of money in this. So people don't realize how much money that they have spent in care that didn't bring outcome. So for me, it is very different investing in your health like this in a program like this with us. But at the same time, you've gotten outcomes in 8 weeks you haven't gotten in 10 years, and you're continuing to get outcomes. So my question for you, and a lot of people ask, is, was this worth the investment into the program? Was this program worth your investment into it?
Absolutely. No question. So worth it. I mean, I can't rave about the program enough. I think people really, it's really hard to understand what value is going to come because you've never seen anything like this model before and never experienced it. So it's really hard to anticipate. But it's mind blowing. And it's mind blowing. I remember when you'd say like, well, what was your Achilles heel, Jenna? Or what was your Achilles? I had so many. I mean, I had like 9 Achilles heels that, it would have taken, I never would have figured out in a lifetime of work. I just think that to answer your question, it was totally worth it. And I'm so grateful for you and for Frankie and for the role that you've played in my life.
Well, final question. Some people think we put the people with super high outcomes on this video. When we interview only people with the super outcomes, okay? So my question for you is, are your outcomes that you've had, as great and amazing they are they the super outcomes in our group, or is this typical, or how does this compare to all the other people that you were seeing in the group as far as outcomes?
Everybody's experiencing these outcomes. Like, it would blow me away how first, some of the spectrum of what is autoimmune disease is huge. There are so many things that people have. So everybody looked a bit different as far as what people had in the group, but what was always consistent was the amount of progress and outcomes that people were making. It would blow me away week to week. I mean, you had people in the group who's, couldn't move their hands when they came in, and then were like, typing and mobile, and everyone's outcomes were different for them, but they were all transformational. And it was so cool to watch people. We grew so close because you're watching people come in such a vulnerable, overwhelmed state. And then you're graduating with these people that are just like on fire and in control and empowered. And it's really emotional to watch. And it's really, you just bond in a way too. Like that whole component you don't even think about, but we're going to have like Facebook reunions now and reunions around the country. But the answer is, I didn't see anybody who didn't have outcomes that went through while I was going through.
Isn't that crazy? Like, if people ask me that, they don't believe it. I'm glad you're saying it, but I had someone even yesterday on a phone call that asked us, like, what about the people that don't get any outcomes? I was like, we choose very carefully who comes into our program.
Yeah.
And we do. And we provide every level of support and training and tools that someone needs. And if you're going to work the heck out of the program, I have not seen somebody without outcome. It's unfathomable to me.
I remember my husband actually asked you that question when we did our first screening call, and he said, "What if it doesn't work?" And that's what you said. And he was really skeptical that you could have no one who had no outcomes. But that was my experience.
I know. So it's great. I mean, I love the fact that your husband's a physician and I'm a physician, and we're used to people not being compliant, not getting outcomes, coming back, not having done one thing that you told them to do and not having outcomes. So it's very difficult for people to believe that there's a program online like this that can actually get the level of engagement and outcomes that we do all the time, right?
Yeah. Totally.
Okay. You rock. Thank you. So
Thank you.
Guys, please give Jenna a big heart and please share this video. This was hard for her to brave. And for those of you who have not watched our free online training, our link for the training is right below. Go ahead and click it and register to watch our free online training. If you're really interested in learning more about this program, please book a call with us. We're happy to talk to you and see if it's a good fit or not. So thanks a lot. And this ends our broadcast today. Thanks, Jenna.
Thank you.